When it comes to successfully completing a training block, footwear can often play a big part. Having the right shoes can make all the difference for injury prevention, performance, and most importantly, enjoyment. After wrapping up a 12-week half marathon training block, I wanted to dive into the stats and check out the most used shoes over the last 12 weeks, share some thoughts on the ones that worked really well, the ones that didn't quite do it for me, and the ones that will be moving forward with me into the next training block. Now, I ended up using a total of 11 pairs of shoes, and only 3 of them had 2 runs in. They were mainly for testing. The rest had 3 or more runs in, which means I spread the load out over those trainers rather than just pigeonholed a couple and had a 2 to 3 shoe rotation. I bought back some old faithfuls to help me out. So we'll work our way from the bottom of the list up. I'll tell you how I've been using them, and then at the end I'll tell you the ones that probably won't be carrying on with me, the ones that will, and the one shoe in particular that I'm really keen to get hold of. So shoes 11, 10 and 9 with a 361 Centauri 2, the Brooks Glycerin 22 and the 361 Meraki 6. All 3 of these only had the 2 runs in. It was for testing purposes. Both of them had an easy and a moderate run in. I have absolutely nothing negative to say, other than I think the Brooks Glycerin 22 was just a little bit on the heavy side, but I was pretty impressed with how it moved on the steady run when I did test it out there. All of the shoes were absolutely fantastic. I just had another shoe in particular, which we'll come to later in this video, that was soaking up all of the easy and steady miles. So sadly, they didn't get a look in, but as I said, absolutely nothing negative to say about them. All really good shoes. And in 8th place comes the Nike Pegasus Plus with 3 runs. Really enjoyed that shoe as well. Once again, just like the other 3 we've just talked about, I had another shoe that is soaking up a lot of those easy and steady miles. It did get some run outs early on, but I haven't picked it up for a while. I do actually highly recommend this shoe. It's actually one of the first Nike shoes in a long time that I've really enjoyed running in. I would not touch a Pegasus after my recent testing of the latest version last year, but the Pegasus Plus was a really nice revamp of the old Turbo. It's not quite as light and nimble, and I think as shoe technology has evolved, we find that things have moved on. Back in the day, my Turbo 2 was my go-to speed shoe and probably go-to everything shoe, whereas now I feel like I can gravitate towards other shoes out there. However, the Pegasus Plus does a good job, and I think Nike are definitely taking that one in the right direction. Much better than the Nature version they released a couple of years ago anyway. The Adidas Adios 9 comes in 7th place, also with 3 runs, but I can assure you that would have plenty more if I'd have got it earlier. So this is a recent addition to the shoe rotation. I have produced a first impressions video, and I've also popped a video out on the Extra channel recently with some more thoughts. So if you want to know more, make sure you check out that video at the end of this one. I have been really impressed with the Adios 9. It has enough cushioning to be fast and comfortable, but not too much. I am loving the lower stack feel it gives. It is definitely one of my favorites in that category. In fact, just before I went out to Spain, I recorded a video and scheduled it for when I was out there, comparing some of those speed shoes, and it was definitely up there. I'm really enjoying it, and I can assure you this is going to get plenty more use as I move forward into my next training block, which is going to be more shorter distance 5k work. The Saucony Endorphin Elite comes in 6th place with 4 runs, and again this one has been sharing the load with the next shoe you're about to hear with regards to long runs and workouts. I've been loving pulling the Elite back out. It has gone completely dead. I am nearly at 200 miles I think in the shoe, around 170, 180. It's doing really well in terms of holding up and holding its shape, but as I said, the foam is absolutely no good to man nor beast now. It's probably the quickest foam to really flatten out in a racing shoe that I've ever experienced, but the times I have racing in it still puts it at that #1 spot for me. It works so well, and I've been enjoying using it in training. It's just good to have that familiar feeling of that lovely smooth roll through and that fast turnover that I get in that shoe. Again, with the stack height of that shoe at that legal limit of 40mm, and in my size 13 well over 40mm, it's great to get that sort of cushioning. Even though it's not as soft as it was, it's great to get that underfoot. It helps on those longer workout days. The Elite has definitely taken some of the longer workouts that I've been doing, the on-offs or over-unders, and some of the faster stuff out on the concrete. And that was partnered with shoe number 5 in the list, the Nike Alphafly 3. I've done a few videos on this shoe lately, especially in the build-up to the Alicante Half Marathon. It's a shoe that I'm probably never going to race in, but I spent a lot of money on it and I want to get my money's worth out there. So I think what I've been doing, again, just like the Saucony Endorphin Elite, is using it for some long runs. I actually prefer the Elite still, even though the foam has gone flat in that. I just prefer the way that it rolls. The Alphafly in my UK13 is such a big unit. It just feels like a lot of shoe on foot. But one thing I thought was pretty interesting, the week before I flew out to Spain, I had quite a hefty week of intensity and I actually used the Alphafly on the Friday before my 5K time trial for an easy run. It just absolutely babies the legs. It makes them feel really good. I didn't even feel like I'd run that day. And I guess that's the beauty of those type of shoes. I don't advocate buying an Alphafly for easy runs. I just want to make that clear. But I did use it and I'm going to keep using it. I want to rack the miles up in this thing. I want to get the most out of this shoe that I can and use it to the best of my ability in training. And the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 comes in 4th place. I have had so much success with this shoe and I can't rave about it enough. If you have seen my recent video though, just a word of warning, I did note that I was getting a bit of an Achilles rub in the shoe, but as I mentioned in the video, nothing a bit of micropore tape can't sort out, and I was only finding it when I got up to in and around 10 miles and beyond. In fact, after the Alicante half marathon, I mentioned it in that video, I had to actually take the shoes off, had a dip in the sea, but did not put them back on. My Achilles was very sore after using them. However, everything shorter, I've just not had an issue. I experienced it at the end of Boddington a little bit, and that was a 10-mile race, and in Alicante, but nothing shorter. I wore them on my recent Bourton 10K race, and I got nothing there, and I wasn't even taped up in that race. So I've had great success with it. I still highly recommend it. It is a brilliant shoe, brilliant value. It is my current go-to racer, and to be honest with you, I think I'll probably use it again this weekend at the Newport Half Marathon. Coming in at number 3 is a Brooks Hyperion 2. This has been a great shoe for me during this training block. Used it for a lot of workouts in the beginning, hill workouts, and then later on out on the trails, more sort of fartlek workouts, faster stuff, and I think a couple of times on the concrete as well. Really enjoyed this one. Again, I put it in a very similar category to the Adios 9. Honest truth, if I'd have had the Adios 9 and the Hyperion 2 at the same time, I probably would have put more miles into the Adios 9 by now. However, I didn't have it back then, and it served a great purpose for me throughout this training block. I've really enjoyed this shoe, and again, I really do highly recommend it. I've always had great success with the Brooks performance shoes, the Hyperion Tempos, Hyperion Maxes, Max 2, and now the Hyperion 2. It's been brilliant. Honestly, it's been really, really good. So that's been my go-to workout shoe for those lighter and faster workouts. Surprisingly, the Mizuno Neo Vista comes in 2nd place with 8 runs. And again, I've been using this one mainly for longer, steady runs. I've done a couple of workouts in it as well. I wanted to test it out when I got the shoe back in, I think it was December or November last year. So I did a hill workout in it. I did a fast flat workout in it. I think my conclusion with this shoe was I was never really sure about it in the faster paces. It wasn't good, but then it was an overstacked shoe, and that really wasn't its purpose. I listened to you guys and you basically said it's one of those cruisers that when you get going, you just forget they're on your feet. They protect the legs, and I'd agree that's exactly how I found it after I'd done my initial testing. And so the majority of the rest of the runs I've done in the shoe have been exactly that, just steady runs out there on the trails or out on the roads. I think I've done one more long run workout in the shoe, but other than that, it's been a great cruiser. And the stats don't lie, it comes in 2nd place. And running away with the lead is the Asics Nova Blast 5. You probably guessed it, it's got about 24 runs in it during this training block. A lot of miles, nearly 200 actually. Most of the mileage has come during this training block for this shoe. A surprising shoe really. I was super excited when I got the shoe. It felt like the Nova Blast of old. I was delighted. I was really disappointed with version 4. So happy to get testing version 5. Did a great workout in it in the beginning, which realistically that shoe is not particularly designed for. I used to use my version 1 and 2 for workouts, and I just wanted to kind of see if this one could do the same. It did really well, but somewhere between the 100 and 200 mile mark, that foam has compressed to the point where it's quite soft, but it's lost all responsiveness. And as I'm edging my way towards a 300 mile mark, I'm finding that more and more every day. It's gone from, for me, one of the most exciting shoes to one of the most disappointing shoes, and I am really gutted, but I'm still using it. I'm persevering to 300 miles, and I'll make a call at that point as to whether I want to continue using it. But spoiler alert, it's not really bringing me the joy that it used to. But to be fair, with this shoe, I've been doing easy runs, again, steady runs, a couple of workouts, but mainly easy and steady, and a couple of long run workouts as well. I always found the Nova Blast to be great for those longer runs, and I was able to drop some really fast paces in this in a long run workout back in December, I think it was, or maybe January. So it's definitely got gears to go through in it, but sadly it's just flattening out a bit too quickly. So that's the list, but I guess which shoes are not going to carry on into the next training block, which are the ones that I'm really not that keen on? Well, to be honest with you, I'd be surprised if I put too much more into the Neo Vista. I'm surprised that it's come second in this list. I've got no inclination to gravitate towards it. It's a funny old shoe. There was so much hype around it. I didn't really get the hype. I can see why people want to use it, but again, I feel like this is a bit of an Alphafly version 3 scenario again, where when it blows up into my size, it's just one heck of a shoe. The unit is massive when it's on foot, and it's not like how you guys described it where it disappears on feet when you are cruising. Yes, I find it to be a great cruiser, and I feel like the paces feel good, but I feel like I'm running in moon boots, so I'm not sure about that one. The 361 shoes and the Brooks Glycerin 22, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to put more into those or not. I could, but whilst I'm using the Nova Blast 5, nothing else is going to get a look in. After that, when I retire that one, who knows? I'll be picking something back up, so we'll see at that point. And probably the Brooks Hyperion 2 won't get too much more use. I've got the Adios 9 now. That's one that I want to start ramping up the miles in, so that one will be continuing, but the Brooks Hyperion 2, probably not. So which ones will I carry forward? Well, as I just mentioned, the Adidas Adios 9, absolutely, no doubt, no hesitation. I'm excited to log a lot of miles in that shoe. That is going to be great for 5K training. The Nova Blast will get more miles for the moment, as I've just mentioned, but that might not last too long. I'm not sure I'm going to want to take it past 300, but I'll get there and we'll see what happens at that point. And then of course the Alphafly, the Puma and the Endorphin Elite, those three will carry on. For the moment, the Puma is absolutely my go-to racing shoe until I got more racing shoes in for testing, and the Alphafly and the Elite will continue to be used in training. I want to use those shoes the most out of anything else to ramp the mileage up and see when they start to fall apart. And so finally, what's that one shoe that I really want to get my hands on? Well, if you saw and follow Tim Gross's channel, you'll see he put a video out where I got to test some of his shoes. He was very kind. He bought up 4 pairs of shoes for me to have a look at that I haven't tested. The Nike Pegasus Premium, the Adidas Evo SL, the Nike Zoom Fly 6 and the Adidas Adios Pro 4. And the Evo SL is the one that took me by surprise as to just how much I enjoyed it. Now don't get me wrong, I only ran in these shoes for about a minute and a half maximum. Just did an out and back, testing them, see how they felt on foot. I was kind of blown away by the Evo SL and the Zoom Fly 6 to be fair. Both of those shoes felt great, but I'm always after something that's non-plated, and the Evo SL felt really light to be fair. I was very impressed and I thought that would be a great addition into my rotation. As I said, the Zoom Fly 6 would also be another good option. I'm going to say it on camera now, I was pleasantly surprised with the Pegasus Premium. That, although it's heavy, the AirPod in that runs the full length of the shoe was very soft, very cushioned, and I was really impressed. The one I was slightly disappointed by was the Adios Pro 4. A little bit unstable. I need to get like proper testing done in it. I need to test it in races. I'd need to test it at faster paces, but it felt a little bit unstable. The cut on the medial side underneath and with the softer foam made it feel a little bit more unstable. We had it in the Pro 3, but the foam was firmer in the Pro 3, so I never felt like it was unstable. Sadly with the Pro 4, I'm not sure if it's going to work for me. Still one on my hit list to test, but I'm not going to rush out and grab that one. I might actually wait for discount on that one. So there we go. Those are my half marathon shoes that I've used from 11 all the way up to 1. They've been great, and it's been great to have a good rotation and spread the mileage out across those shoes. I'll throw the question out to you guys. Which are your favorite shoes for your half marathon training? Which are you really gravitating towards right now in the early stages of 2025? And seemingly as I've just mentioned race shoes, what's your go-to race shoe? How are you finding the Adidas Pro 4? Are you getting the same feeling as me, or are you absolutely loving them? It would be great to hear from you in the comments below. So that's it from me today. If you're keen to see how I feel about the Adios 9, check out this video up here, and there'll be more testing on that to come very soon. If you're interested to see how the Nova Blast 5 is holding up after 200 miles and see a little bit more about what I've been talking about briefly in this video, check out this video down here. I'll see you over on one of those.